when it comes to your experience working with factories, do you always go direct? Do you work with some third parties? At what stage or point do you think you should bring in a third party, whether that be a sourcing agent or, someone of that nature? What does that look like? I mean, do you think someone should always start with one? Do you think as you get to scale and kind of need boots on the ground, you should work with one? What does that dynamic look like?
Yeah. So I think the first decision that people have to make is, do they insource or outsource? Right? Going back to the food manufacturing thing, most companies that get started are food companies just because everybody loves food, right? Um, and you will make a decision of, am I going to buy an extra oven, an extra freezer in order to go do this? Or do I want to outsource it? And typically what I would say is, if what you're doing is not a competitive advantage, then you should outsource it, right? If I'm making diamonds, for example, I don't want to outsource that. Like, that's my own proprietary technology. I want to make sure that I'm investing in and sourcing and doing that. Most cases, injection molding or batch cooking of beverages, or that manufacturing process is not going to be strategic for a company, and so they should look to outsource. When it comes to using buying groups, sourcing agents, going direct, I think there are a few things to take a look at. The first one is, what is the management burden that I can bear? Dealing with a factory means that you may have to be on call at on all hours of the night, depending where they are. It means that when there's an issue, you need to respond. It means that you have to take care of all the finance stuff. You have to make sure POs are issued correctly. You have to make sure that quality checks are being done. You have to handle all the logistics. That takes effort and that takes time. So if I'm a young company, I'm a solopreneur, or I just don't want to invest in that headcount, that's where I would look to say, okay, is there a sourcing company or an agent that could do this, right? Is there something where I'm willing to pay a little bit more from a cost perspective to not have to worry about this, to basically have someone in my own time zone, in my own country, that I can work with and take care of. If I'm not concerned about bandwidth, and there are no language or time zone considerations, then I always say, like, go direct. Like, you'll get a cheaper price in most cases, with the exception being if you're doing group buying. If I have $20 million worth of spend going through a group versus my $500K worth of spend on my own, I'm probably going to get better pricing going through a buying group than I am individually. So you should have to kind of look at it like that. But in general, the $1 billion companies that are out there, they have direct relationships because they have the infrastructure, because the 1 or 2 percentage points that they can squeeze out by going direct is worth it for them. But in most cases, I think founders should focus on only things that they can do, which is fundraising, which is getting the product market fit right, which is thinking strategically, and to the extent that you can, find other ways to manage the factory.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think using a third party, especially overseas, like at that startup and mid tier, is super important, because having boots on the ground goes so far over there, and oftentimes you're able to get better pricing too. I mean, when I was starting and growing Sourcify, I mean, I couldn't even tell you the number of times where somebody thought like they were getting good pricing from their supplier that they had found on Alibaba. And we go through a very transparent process at Sourcify to showcase to them, hey, this is what you're paying right now. This is what our factories can produce your product for. And we, produce a sample for them, showcasing to them it's the exact same product. And oftentimes they're saving, 10, 15, even, I mean, we have, cases where we've saved 40%. And that's just on unit cost, right? So you're going from, spending $10 to $6. It's a huge difference in your bottom line. And so I think it goes a long way, to work with a third party that has boots on the ground, especially kind of in that startup and mid stage. And it also boosts confidence, right? Like if you're, doing this for the first time or launching a new SKU in a category you're not familiar with, it is really hard to go out and find the right factory that's a good fit for you. And so if you can work with someone that's already produced, a lot of different products in the industry you're looking to launch into, to me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I usually tell people, like, source both of them. Right, have an agent, see what they can do, see what you can do on your own, and just see weigh out all the pros and cons. I mean, I think another good analogy that helps drive the point is you could go direct to FedEx, right, and have a deal direct with FedEx. They'll sell it to you, but you're going to get a better deal, at least early on, through a 3PL. And even though that 3PL is maybe taking some margin on shipping, you're going to be saving dollars per shipment because they're a more important customer to FedEx than you would be individually.
Yeah, I agree completely.